Okay, talking about tanks, this tank here is the fullest. It's feeding from this back downpipe, this section, and that front downpipe there, so it gets most of the water off the roof. And it is currently up third line, just under where this signage is for the tank. So I'd say it's about 3/4 full, where the other end is not so full, and I'll explain why shortly. We're still actually using water out of this 1,000 litre tank for the caravan. So what I've been doing, I've just been connecting the outlets of both tanks, and because the water height in this tank is higher than there, I've just been connecting it with a garden hose, opening both valves, and the water from this tank just flows and fills this 1,000 litre tank. And we've just been pumping it from that tank into the caravan until we're set up with a pump house in the future for the shipping container house, which is the next thing I'll show you. Working on a pad here, getting a kit lawn locker shed set up. They got to put together, similar to how we put the chook pen together, but hopefully a bit stronger and better quality. Yeah, here we're putting a 6 metre by 3 metre lawn locker, and you can divide it in the middle, but I've made the pad 8 metres long. So what we're going to do, this first shed, this end will be a garden lawn locker for mowers and equipment, gardening tools. Divider in the middle, so it'll be sealed, and the second section of the shed will be the power shed, so that'll contain inverters and batteries for the power system for the shipping container house. We're probably going to go with AGM batteries. I've been looking at lithium ion, but for the price and the lifetime you get out of them, it's just not worth it. AGMs I think are the way to go at the moment. And I've had a bit to do with lithium ions with model aeroplanes, and obviously I'm not looking after them real well in that application as we're draining them right down. But I think I'll just stick with AGMs for the power system at the moment, but obviously I'm doing my research, buying bits and pieces as we go, but the batteries will be the last thing we buy once all the power system's set up, and we'll buy the batteries last. And I was saying on the end here will be a smaller shed, which will be a pump shed, and that'll contain our pressure pump for the house, filter system, and a pressure tank, which will connect to the pump, so your pump's not cycling on and off when you turn your tap on. So initially you turn your pumps on, it has a built-in pressure switch, it builds up pressure in the pressure tank, say to 40 or 50 psi, and if you turn on your tap inside the containers, it'll drain that pressure from the tank, and your pump won't start until the pressure comes down in that tank to the preset start position, which might be 30 psi, something like that. It just stops your pump cycling on and off by having a pressure tank. So that's what's going on here. We've got the kit shed ordered, so no doubt I'll have a build video for that. Don't know how complicated that'll be to build, but it's a fair size. Oh, for the base, I'm just using sand. I'm just leveling it all this out for the moment. And what we're going to do is lay treated pine sleepers down. Because they're basically termite proof, resistant. I haven't seen any termites eat treated sleepers before. And they're fairly cheap, but basically making a slab there of treated timber, and that'll also raise it off the ground. Because when we had that storm, we had a fair bit of water running through here, which most of it's coming off the driveway. We might have a quick look at that now. Let's wander around here. Because as the block is sloping front to back, most of the water is flowing down the driveway and runs right down the back, which when the storm was on I actually followed. We had a fair flow of water and I followed it down, and I found a prime position for our large storage dam site, which eventually will get done once we have finances for a machine to dig it. But what happened the other day, we've got runoff off the driveway, comes off this side and sort of curved in behind this tank and flowed straight under the containers and through the back, and actually flowed through our middle section here. So there would have been a couple inches of water flowing through here. So I'm going to put some drainage trenches in down the side there to divert the water. Obviously in the future, once we have the deck here, that won't be a problem as we'll be elevated off the ground. Now, talking about tank levels before, this level in here, obviously it's a lot larger tank. It's just on this bottom rung. Sits gutter's working fine. This tank here is up at the second run from the bottom. And I'll show you, we made a bit of a stuff up when we built the place. Well, we levelled it with string lines, but this side of the shipping container is actually higher than that side. I did have a mark on here. What I've done is I've purchased a laser level off the internet, and the I did have a line here, but I think that's about there. That level there is actually the top level of the bricks down the other end. So the height of the shipping container up this end is around 2.5 inches higher than the other end. So when I did this front gutter, what I had to do to get the fall, I'll get a better view, I had to weld droppers. You can see those bit of extensions there. So I welded droppers on the gutter. So if I view out this way, that is why the gutter on this end is a lot lower than the roof, to get the floor, to get the fall. So this front gutter is running that way from the center, and from the center that way is running into the other tank. So this front gutter's fine because I put in the droppers, because now we've got the laser level. I can check the levels because we've got that 2.5–3 inch difference in height between one end of the container house and the other. It's because we were working with string lines and things like that. So what the problem is on the back, this end of the gutter is actually higher than the other end, and before, all the water on this back side of the roof would run down to that tank down that way, and you would get nothing up here. So what I've done to compensate that, which is cheating a bit, I should actually put droppers and lower this gutter, but it's a lot of work. What I've done, I put a divider in the middle, a sheet of aluminium, and a little hole in the bottom of the divider. So what happens in heavy rain, this end here fills up, the gutter fills up. It's got to fill up on this back section about 1 inch before it will flow in that direction. So the gutter will fill up and flow in that direction in heavy rains, and then in light rains, or when it stops raining, the little hole in the bottom of the aluminium plate, instead of the water just sitting in that gutter, it will gradually trickle through the little hole and run back to this tank in this direction. I know it's not the best, but it is working. But to compensate, obviously this tank is going to fill first, but I'm going to have all the outlets connected together. And when we built the pads, when we built the pads for the tanks, we actually laser leveled it all, and the pads are all at the same height. So once the outlets of the tanks are together with poly pipe, all I have to do is open the valve on the far tank over there, open this valve, and this will fill by gravity by that tank up there. So if that tank's full, it'll drop down to half, and this one will fill up to half, and they'll level out. So I'll be able to do that, and also the same with the bigger tank. Though the bigger tank is higher, so you could only fill it to a certain degree. I think it's 2.7 in height. These are 2.3, 2.4, something like that. But yeah, so yeah, that's the idea why I laser leveled the pads, is I can fill each tank from another tank using gravity. Well, that's the idea anyway. We might have a look at that plate so you know what I'm talking about. I'll just grab the ladder and we'll get up there on the roof and have a look.